Hey everyone, welcome to Massachusetts Sports Central. These are our NFL game picks for Week 4. Another early season full slate of 16 games. After a great Week 2 and with a 14-2 record, we had a rough Week 3 going 8-8. Though with all the upsets, looks like lots of people had bad weeks. Still own a 32-15 record on the season though. All right, on to Week 4. Starting with the Thursday game, we have a NFC North rivalry game with the Bears at the Packers. The Bears have been surprisingly competitive in 2 of their 3 games this year and beat a highly regarded Steelers team last week. However, I don't think that they will sustain that level of play all year, and they usually struggle against the Rodgers-led Packers, especially in Green Bay. Packers win this one 23-17. Next, we have the second London game of the season with the Saints and Dolphins. This is a home game for Miami, but I don't think that they will have any great advantage. I did misstep on this point with the Jags last week, but we'll double down with that thought this week. I think that the Finns will come out strong to try to make up for that embarrassment against the Jets last week, and are able to put up enough points on the Saints D. So Miami takes this one 27-21. All right, on to the 1 p.m. Sunday games. Starting off, we have one of the more interesting games of the week with the Titans at Texans. For Tennessee, they could really put their stamp down that this is their division now, going up 2 games early on the Texans and beating them at home. For the Texans, it's important for them to win to keep from digging a big hole this early in the season. This is a tough one. I could see it going either way, but we'll bank on the improvements we saw from Watson, and they're going to keep that trend going the right way, and the Texans will pull it off at home. Houston wins 23-20. Next, we have a surprisingly compelling matchup with the Jags at the Jets. The Jags have had 2 great games and 1 terrible game. The Jets have had 2 mediocre games and 1 great game last week. I didn't expect much from either club, though I did pin this game as one of the ones that the Jets had among the best chances of winning coming into the season. Could they actually go on a 2-game winning streak? I'm going to say no, but it will depend on if Bortles has a meltdown or not. I'll guess that he is serviceable, and the defense beats down on both sides. So I'm looking at the Jags winning 16-9. Next up, we have Panthers and Patriots. I have not liked the offense at all this year for the Panthers, and barely doing anything against the Saints D last week didn't help that perception at all. The Pats D has been suspect to be very generous so far this year, but their offense has not. Right now, they are better than New Orleans' offenses, and they had no issues, and that team had no issues scoring on Carolina. With the game at Foxborough, I don't see it being close. Pats take it 31-20. Up next, one of the week's top games with another NFC North showdown between the Lions and the Vikings. This is a big game since the winner will be, at worst, tied for the division lead, depending on if the Packers win or not. And from what I have heard, I don't expect Bradford. I expect Bradford to be out again, which confounds things more. I'm not sold on Keenum doing anything close to last week's performance, but he did show that he isn't just a Tolzien plus type guy either. So Minnie's D is better than the Lions, but the Lions have been playing very well so far. The Lions have the better offense no matter who the Vikings have at quarterback, in my opinion, but a bigger discrepancy if it's Keenum. Again, this is a tight one, but I will take the Lions, showing that they will be a serious contender in the division this season, and I have them taking it 23-17. Up next, we have the Bills at the Falcons. Great defensive effort by Buffalo so far this season, and props for getting enough points versus the Denver D last week. However, the Falcons are legit on both sides of the ball, and think the Bills turned back to pumpkins this week, with the Falcons winning 28-13. Another big early season division showdown with the Steelers at the Ravens. The winner will be in sole possession of first place with a 3-1 record and a head-to-head win in hand versus the loser who will be in second place. In the preseason, I had this for the Ravens, but now I'm not as sure. Ironically, if the Steelers were 3-0, I'd take the Ravens all day, seeing this as a likely letdown. Now, with a bad letdown coming last week, I do think they come out more fired up this week. I'm taking the Steelers 24-17. Next, a much less important AFC North showdown with the only battle of winless teams on the schedule this week. We have the fight for 0-4 between the Bengals visiting the Browns. The playoff homes for both teams are already pretty much close to zero, but the loser of this game is all but mathematically eliminated from the playoffs and should be firmly entrenched as the number 32 team in everyone's power rankings. I already said in this week's that no matter what happens in any other game, this loser will be last in mine. I am taking the Browns purely on the home field advantage and the fact that they rallied to almost come back in their game last week versus the Bengals, who squandered a game they could have easily won, even though it was against a much better team. I'm going to take the Browns to win it 24-23. Last early game is Rams at Cowboys. I've said it many times already that the Rams are going to be better than I was expecting them coming into the season. However, as the season presses on, I don't see them being a legit playoff contender. Well, I guess unless Seattle completely falls apart and the NFC West ends up with a 7 or 8 win division winner. On the other hand, Dallas is in a 3-way tie in the competitive NFC East and they had to have circled this game going into the season as one that they should win. I'm actually looking forward to all the talk about comparing the second-year QBs and the young running backs in this one. But in the end, Dallas should be the superior team, and they will win 24-20. All right, moving on to the late games. We start off with the Eagles at Chargers. Chargers pretty much are playing for their season already in this one. At 0-3 in a strong division, they will have little hope of even being able to be on the bubble with another loss this early. Again, like most winless teams at this point, it's already pretty bad. Eagles, on the other hand, are one of the darlings of the league so far and a serious contender for their division. I see the horror story in LA's season continuing, and the Eagles take this one 21-14. Next, we have Giants at the Bucks. Tampa was terrible last week. I don't think that's the real Bucks, though. Not sure they're as good as they looked versus the Bears in their first game, but think that is closer to the reality than last week. As for the Giants, it was good to see the offense finally do something at the end of the game, but don't think that they flipped any kind of switch with that. Tampa will be able to score enough on the Giants' good defense and will not let the mediocre offense do what they did to Philly. Tampa wins it 23-13. All right. Next up, a bit of a clunker with the 49ers at the Cardinals. Both teams are bad so far with a combined 1-5 record. However, the NFC West, is bad enough that both teams are still legitimate division contenders if they win. The 49ers will be in a tough spot if they lose, since they will be 0-4 with losses to all three teams in the division already. Cards not as dire, but will be in bad shape as well. I think that Arizona has had enough time to work out life post David Johnson that they'll be able to do enough to beat a clearly inferior 49ers team. Cards take it 24-17. All right, final afternoon game is probably the best one of the week. Big AFC West game with a couple of 2-1 teams coming off tough losses, playing to put pressure on KC, who plays on Monday. Raiders at Broncos should be a very good game. You have the good offense versus good defense, and the suspect offense versus suspect defense. I assume the Raiders are just flat out embarrassed by the game they had last week and will come out clicking on all cylinders for this one. For Denver, it is big for them because they can't afford to drop too many home division games to have a shot in this division or for a wild card. I think Denver wins at least 6 games at home this year, but not this one. Raiders pull it off 20-16. All right, moving to primetime. We have the Sunday night game of Colts at Seattle. Seahawks have not looked sharp on both sides of the ball in any game yet. The Colts have outperformed their luckless expectations thanks to the solid play of Jacoby Brissett. However, he isn't going to light up the Seattle defense, and the Hawks are a different team at home. I think this could be a bloodbath. Seattle takes it easily, 31-10. Last game of the week on Monday night, we have the Redskins at Chiefs. Skins put up a hell of a game against the Raiders last week and have looked pretty good all season so far. KC is one of two teams that are still undefeated and have also looked very strong doing it. If this game was in Washington, I might give it a little more thought, but Arrowhead does offer one of the better home field advantages in the NFL, so I don't see this being the week that KC leaves the ranks of the undefeated. Chiefs take this one, 27-21. All right. We will review these picks after all the games next week are done as usual. Thanks for watching, and please like, comment, and share the videos and subscribe to our channel. You can also follow us on other social media. Facebook and Twitter are both at MA Sports Central. Thanks, and we will see you soon.